salespeople want to get a response, but I don't think they often think about what would make that lead respond.
Hello Sales Nation and welcome to the Salesman Podcast live in partnership with HubSpot Sales here at the Revenue Summit in San Francisco. On today's episode we have Patrick Maloney. He is an email marketing specialist over at highfive.com, and on today's episode he's sharing how we can send sales emails to actually get opened. You can find out more about Patrick in the show notes of this episode over at salesmanpodcast.com. With all that said, let's jump in to today's episode. Welcome to the Salesman Podcast Live.
Thanks, Will. Good to be here.
I'm excited to have you on, mate. So we're going to dive into emails, salespeople specifically, how they, well, I'm going to ask you a massively leading question in a second of how good they are at email versus their marketers and versus people in that kind of space as well. But I want to get out of today's show a couple of real practical steps of how everyone listening, the B2B salespeople listening, how they can kind of put steps in their process rather than spam out emails on the phone as they're on the train, as they're walking out of a sales meeting towards the next one. How they can hopefully kind of like, if there's a structure to an email that gets action, that gets responses, that's what I want to pull out today's show. So, massively leading question here.
Yeah.
Are salespeople good, average, or terrible at sending emails that, one, make sense, and two, are like teed up to get a response?
Yeah, well, I said that I was going to tell our sales team to listen to this, but I probably won't now after what I know to be my answer. I would say that salespeople want to get a response, but I don't think they often think about what would make that lead respond. I think that, I'm a sales guy. I'm working with this prospect. I'm sending them an email. It says, we got this great deal. Why the hell aren't they responding? And I think that if you're a salesperson talking to a lead or you're doing manual prospecting, you need to send an email that makes people understand, first you need to get their attention. We get dozens and dozens and dozens of emails a day. So getting their attention is everything from the subject line, from the preview text of the email. If it's a text email, the preview text is just going to be your first line. So what is that first line? Because they're going to see it on the Apple Mail client. And what is going to make them actually go in there and click?
Let's do it step by step. So first point here, are salespeople selfish when they send emails?
Yeah,
I would say value from the conversation.
I would say any email needs to be completely about the person that you're sending it to, whether it's a newsletter, a blog digest, even a transactional email that you just signed up for the newsletter. It's a cold email. Maybe it's an upsell email. It should be totally based on that person, their interests, their desires, and what specific tangible value they could potentially get out of whatever action you want them to take in the email.
And what is an example of that? How would you, I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Yeah.
How would you start an email that's not for selfish, that is pushed towards the person that you're kind of like emailing? You're pushing towards their interests as you described it.
Yeah. So for instance, we sell High Five to a lot of IT specialists. And so the first line of my emails are usually directly relating to the problems that IT specialists have. And I try to relate to them. I say, I just go right into it. I say, hey, how many times have you had issues setting up your video conferencing system? How many minutes every meeting does it take you to set up that meeting? And you want that prospect to go, oh yeah, that happens to me. Oh right, you want them to say yes after every sentence, because that's going to get them continually reading. It's going to get them feeling that the person that's sending it to them knows what their problems are, knows what they actually need. And the number one reason that you just dismiss an email is it's not relevant to me. And maybe it was relevant to you, but it just wasn't written in a way that makes it seem like it's relevant to you.
And let's dive into the actual body of the email. I think this is super important. And tell me if I'm wrong here. From a salesperson kind of perspective, it seems that emails are getting shorter, not necessarily shorter lengthwise, but shorter sentence-wise, purely because we're all consuming everything on our mobile devices versus on a computer. So should we be factoring that kind of thing in? Because clearly there's a barrier to getting that initial attention.
Yep.
There's a barrier to getting the person to go, as you described, which I love this, of, this might be interesting.
Yeah.
This isn't spam. And then there's obviously then the next barrier to getting a reaction back on from them, which we'll touch on in a second. So is there a way we should structure it with, tell me if I'm wrong again, is it short sentences, Is that just like a misnomer? Do short emails do better than long emails? Is there any data for any of this?
Yeah. So I think first you basically described the right structure. And I think some sales guys, if they're sending great emails, may know this. It's called the AIDA format: attention, interest, desire, action. So that's where you start with the attention. You're relating to that IT prospect. Oh, you're right. I hate setting up this giant Polycom system, I hate that. And then interest. Oh, I can somehow, High Five has developed a modern video conferencing technology. It's hardware and software integrated. So now I may be interested in what that is. Then I go into, oh, you don't have to pay per user, or it's a 20th of the cost, or it's 5-minute setup. So now that IT specialist who is recounting the hell of setting up that video conferencing system is now desiring for this new prospect.
So you are actively giving them a bit of pain and then going,
yes.
And here we go. Here's the answer.
You want to remind them of that pain because sometimes they forget about it. So you almost want your email to remind them of the pain, but then quickly offer a solution and then some action. And you want to make that action as easy as possible. So, for instance, we used to have a Calendly link, a calendar scheduling link in the signature of our email, and we asked people to find the link below. We would probably get one person to click on that in a quarter. Just moving up that link into the main body of the email, making it personalized to the person sending the email, we started getting demos the very next week because it just was that much easier to complete the action that you're asking them to do in the email. On the second point of length, and this is something that you'll see if you go to copywriting websites or sales email, Copy Hackers is something I really recommend.
Yep.
They'll say, people don't read stuff that sucks. So maybe it's just that we keep getting crappy emails, and so now we just want shorter crappiness so that we don't have to
Yeah. Well, so can you flip that on its head then?
Yeah.
If the email is good, if the copy is great, can it be as long as what it needs to be if it's great?
Well, the length is also going to depend on where the prospect is in the funnel. So if you're upselling to a prospect that knows your product, that has your product, you don't need to go through this a longer education. If you're cold emailing someone for the very first time, and you're creating a good email that has a cascading copy effect where they're going through the copy, then that's your opportunity to get people to read your stuff and to learn why your product is better than your competitors, or why it's better than what they may already have if you have some competitive intelligence. Length is what you need to get your message in.
Yeah.
It's hard to within, hey, we've got a great solution. Can we talk next week? No, we can't. I don't know what your solution is.
So let's touch on this then, because a lot of the emails I get along these lines, especially from like SaaS companies, most of the time I'm not the right person to be speaking to with. Our company is way too small to be having these conversations. So that's part one of what is basic selling of the pre-qualification of the person that you're emailing versus sending spam, which is clearly a problem in the industry and clearly something that needs to change over time.
Yeah.
But if there is something that's interesting to me, I get to the bottom of the email and it's a super pushy, book in here, I'm going to speak to you, and it's almost presumptive of I'm going to take action on it.
How about Tuesday at 11:30?
Yeah, and it's a bit icky and weird. Is there a better way of doing that, or does that just work, and so that's why everyone does it?
Yeah, so sometimes you may leave it open-ended for someone just to reply, because that also helps weed out the prospects that aren't going to be worth your time anyways. If you've got a small sales team, if someone's going to reply, they're automatically qualifying themselves. People that may click on links and fill out web forms or sign up demos, that's they don't have to talk to anyone to do that. Replying to a human is a big deal nowadays, and that they're interested in something. And so maybe you just say, reply if you'd like to learn more. I've heard that in, link building outreach emails, instead of saying, will you share this blog post, say, does it sound interesting? I'll send you the link and then you can share it. Because you're getting that buy-in from the prospects. You're not getting that pushiness. They can reply if they want to or not. And I think on the targeting side, you need to have some sort of targeting on maybe your general pool. So if you're hitting salespeople, only hit salespeople, but maybe it's all types of salespeople if you really need a wider audience. And there's tons of tools, and there's tons of tools here that can help you do that.
So should we be scaling from a small ask, and this is the Cialdini model of influence, I guess, but
Yep.
should we be going, reply to this email if you're interested, then a longer email? Should salespeople have a funnel? Clearly, marketers have amazing funnels, and there's a lot of automation, and there's a lot of awesome trickery that's going on in the background to make it seem personalized.
Yep.
And that's gradually fading into sales, but it's not there yet, I don't think, in a lot of cases. So should we be manually asking for a little bit of an ask of, would you like to know more? Then the next email is slightly longer, more in depth, or even more personalized perhaps, and giving insights as opposed to just throwing out problems that they may or may not have. And then, 2 or 3 emails in, then we ask for an appointment.
Yeah. What I like to do is I like to provide most of the information up front, and I think it also depends on how your organization is structured. If sales is going to take the majority of the outbound emailing, and maybe they're doing that one-off, then you can test that strategy. With anything, just test everything.
Yeah.
Don't have any assumptions. Don't think that your hypothesis is correct. Just go and test it with your data. Keep good experimental, just like you're in high school. You got your scientific method of emailing, and use that to get some of your answers to questions that you don't know. But you definitely want to have multiple steps. So people are not going to be super annoyed if you send them 2, 3 emails. Maybe some people will, but that's just the nature of emailing a lot of people.
Yeah.
But you need to at least get that second or third step in there, because then they'll go back and look at, okay, what did they say? Now I'm taking time to look at what they want. And whether that's in the first email or the second email, people will search your name and look at what you've sent them. And that may be from the marketing side, because marketing can get in all of that product language. For salespeople that are just sending one-off emails, I would definitely try to have something, maybe a light Gmail tool, something that can allow you to send follow-ups.
Is there anything you'd recommend personally, or that would give us a starting point, I guess?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of easy follow-up Gmail Chrome extensions. I think there's Streak or Cirrus Insights and Outreach and SalesOft, and there's tons of those tools out there that you can use to just follow up. I used to just send calendar invites or calendar reminders, follow up with these people. And then I would just do that manually. But there's graphs out there that'll show you you lose 30% of responses if you don't send 4 more emails.
So let's touch on this. This is what I want to wrap up the show with. How do we structure follow-up emails? Because I think most salespeople, they know that initial pitch because they are coming to events, they're meeting people in person, or that if they've got an SDR set up meetings, they know that initial pitch that grabs attention and gets the conversation flowing.
Yeah.
But as you rightly said, and I know from me, and I'll use this example of when we're scheduling people to come on the show, I use Streak.
Yep.
I have a CRM workflow setup of send 1 email, send 2 emails, send 3 emails, and then at the end of it is send an email every quarter, and then every quarter I send an email that says now we're up to, so last month we did $500,000.
That's your nurture. That's your drip campaign.
Perfect. That's the best way. That's
so I would move everyone into that. So if you.
But what should emails be? Because I think marketers are used to that follow up. Salespeople go, oh, they didn't reply, they don't like me.
Yeah.
And they can take it personally. Whereas if on the marketing side of things, if you send it to a list of 10,000 people, you're not feeling that, are you? You're not feeling that personal kind of your heart and soul.
I'm happy with that 1% response rate.
Yeah, exactly.
Depending on the market. I think the number one thing I've learned is that you need to be conversational, and you need to be a little bit funny in those second inboxes, or in those second and third touches, and even in the first one, so that you can get that attention, you can stand out from the crowd. For everyone doing the, this is a great solution, I'd love to meet with you, maybe do something really off the wall and funny, just because it's going to be different. And I'll do emails like quick nudge to the top of the inbox in case we got lost. I know that I'm coming out of the blue here, almost fess up to the fact that you're emailing them and say, if you don't want me to keep emailing you, then just, reply, or, tell me to piss off and I'll get out of here. But if this sounds interesting, let's see what we can do for you.
So you have to be a real person.
You have to be a real person. Yeah. I mean, email like you would talk to someone.
Yeah.
And use interesting, ellipses and line breaks and bolding to, highlight different pieces of what you want people to read and understand. But talk to them, maybe start off with a story. Hey, Will, yesterday I was talking to Clayton at Revenue Summit, and he was telling me he had a lot of trouble with emailing. And so I told him about this great new product that Growboss has. And apparently they have 3,000 customers, and they just got reviewed by this research firm, and now I've got specific information, and I'm just sort of telling them something that I thought would be helpful.
Yeah.
Take on that persona of a helpful advisor rather than a salesperson, because if you're selling something that you don't actually think will be helpful, then that's where you have to mask your language there.
Yeah.
But if you are lucky enough to be selling something that will actually provide value to who you're trying to reach to, then it's just a matter of finding the people that need it or need it now or are looking for it in the moment.
Yeah, I think a huge differentiator right now, 2017, as we sit here at the Revenue Summit, is just salespeople who speak as themselves, as opposed to this weird corporate language,
Right.
everything, all those perfect sentences, and it's all very formal. When I get emails, and it's, I've had a couple recently that have just been GIFs of people doing crazy stuff, picking up a phone and then throwing it across the room because I hadn't answered the phone.
Right.
That came from, it might have been Lead IQ. They do great emails.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of, that breaks through the noise. That gets, if nothing else from me, it gets a response of, I love this email. And
Yep.
then that's enough to engage a conversation then.
Yep. Yeah, we do an email with guys like stuck in the false ceiling of their conference room trying to put together a video conferencing. And if I haven't heard from them, I say, are you stuck in the roof of a video conferencing trying to set this up? So play on the fact that they haven't responded, and then they will respond. Maybe they won't want to talk to it, but at least maybe now you have a reply in your system and you can get them into nurture, and maybe one day they will need it. They'll think of you.
And it's just the ability to disqualify people who aren't right. A polite email back saying, we're not the right size, we're not the right fit, we want someone local, whatever it is. That has real value when it goes into the CRM, when it goes into your pipeline, versus what salespeople do. And I've been there in medical device sales when I was working in med devices. I've got this pipeline of 1,000 potential deals. I've only had a reply from 100 of them, but the rest of them might come in. And then obviously that skews all your data and everything else on the back end, and your sales manager gets on your back, and never a good place to be. So with that, Patrick, got a couple of questions, mate. Ask everyone that comes on the show. So first one, what's one book or resource, other than High Five, which we'll come on to in a second, that you'd recommend to the Salesman Podcast audience?
Yeah, so if we're talking about improving our email copywriting skills, I would definitely recommend the book On Advertising by Ogilvy. So that's a classic. And then I would probably recommend just reading any of the long form content on copy hackers.
Nice. Well, we'll link to both of those in the show notes over at salesmanpodcast.com. And the final question.
Yep.
Ask everyone. There's one person that I forgot to ask it to, and it's forever going to burden me forgetting to ask this question. But I'll ask you. So I know you're kind of more on the marketing and the email side of things, but obviously everyone has to sell.
Yep.
You have to sell like internally, externally. You have to sell your wife, partner, whoever at home to kind of help out with things. Everyone's selling. So if you could go back in time and speak to your younger self, what would be the one piece of advice you'd give him to help him become better at selling?
One piece of advice I would give. So I remember a couple years ago, I spent a summer cold calling, and I would say I probably would have called more people, and I probably would have followed up with them more. I think that I think every salesperson probably has a few people that they could have followed up with more, and you never know when that response is going to have. We'll have people that have been on vacation in Italy for 3 months. In our system, they look like totally dead, and they'll come in and MQL and buy a whole system, for 10 grand. So you never know.
I think that sums up the power of follow-up as well, which is something I've took away from our conversation today. So I appreciate that, Patrick. And tell us a little bit about High Five and where we can find out more about you as well.
Yeah, so High Five is modern video conferencing. It's insanely simple. It's built for your meeting rooms. It's integrated hardware and software. Partnered with Dolby Conference Phone and Dolby Voice. No per user fees, and you can get it at highfive.com.
Amazing stuff. We'll link to that again in the show notes over at salesmanpodcast.com. Well, Patrick, I want to thank you for your time and thank you for joining us on the Salesman Podcast.
Thanks, Will. It's been a pleasure.